So for Autocar, are you the only YouTube handler for them, or?
Oh no.
Okay.
So it started off with being me at the beginning. I used to do the Autocar show on television. It was called the Auto Show actually when we started in CNBC. When we shifted to Bloomberg, it became the Autocar show. After a while, I kind of convinced Holmes that I think we should take on the production on our own, because the production used to largely be with the with the television channel. And I found that we had more control over the production quality and how we did it when we took over the production. So after a while, we started our own team, slowly, little bit. And at that time, there was me. Then Karthikeya Singhi joined me. He's also really popular now, moved on and moved out from us, but does some great content as well. He joined us, and there was two of us, and then slowly, I think it expanded to kind of everybody in the editorial team having to do a little bit of television. So now Holmes does it, Shapu does it, Gavin does it, Sergius does it, Nikhil does it, Jay does it. So we have a whole team of people who do YouTube television and YouTube channel and reviews.
So do you think that you have a lot of viewers on YouTube or the OTT?
We don't. So OTT actually is very strange. OTT doesn't allow you to review anything. So though Amazon Prime had approached us and we'd started off an Amazon Prime channel, we found that our content was not passing QC because you're not allowed to do a review of any product. It's considered advertising on an OTT.
Okay.
So that was where the challenge was. And our job is to review, right? So it was kind of a mismatch. We weren't creating entertainment. That was never the aim. So for us, it was a serious review, not entertainment. So we did have one or two entertaining things that we did, like we drove a Lambo with a MiG on the Goa airstrip. I think something that's never been done before, and we do kind of crazy stuff like that in a tank, and those kind of things did go onto our channel. But we found it too hard to maintain because you don't have so many stories that you do that's crazy. I mean, maybe one or two in a year. So we never really pursued the OTT side of it. We've stuck with YouTube. Of course, now there's Instagram, and television channels still remain. So those are the avenues that we have video content. And of course, Autocar also has a magazine, so it's on the website.
Yeah. So, I follow this show, a UK-based show called Grand Tour.
Yeah.
And those guys, they do some crazy stuff.
They have some crazy budgets to do some crazy stuff.
So, do you plan in Autocar to do something
I
of that
think
sort?
Every automotive journalist in the world has grown up watching Grand Tour or has been influenced by Grand Tour at some point of time. And I think, before Grand Tour, it used to be on BBC, of course, as another show. But my point is, Jeremy Clarkson, James May, Richard Hammond, they're idols for like pretty much every journalist that's out there. And of course, we love to do things like them, but you need massive budgets. I think obviously they're hugely talented, which is why they got those kind of budgets. But I think they created a genre in a time that was so unique and different. And then, became so popular that they had the budgets to do all the crazy kind of stuff that they did. I think in India, nobody looks at automotive content like that. A lot of people have tried or wanted to do it, but not succeeded in getting the kind of budget you need to have a production like that. They have a whole team that does the writing, they ideate, the whole script is thought through with every shot in mind. And when you compare it to us, where it's like we get up in the morning, we take the camera and the car and we go out and the story unfolds along the way.
Yeah.
So it's a very different way of doing that, and it requires a lot of money to produce a show like that.
Yeah, I think talent is there, but we're just waiting for the right sort of budgets to come in so that we can create a show like that.
Yeah, I'd love to do mad stuff like that. I mean, if anybody gave me the chance.
Count me in as well.
Yeah.
I saw something that you have done a 75-day trip in a Ferrari.
Yes.
Was that the longest? Because you said that 33-day was the longest.
Yeah, so I wasn't on all 75 days, so I can't stake claim to having done the whole thing, but we did organize it.
Okay.
So it was done for Ferrari. Ferrari does these things called magic tours that they used to do at that time, where journalists from across the world travel to a country and drive around it. So basically they did this into Scaglietti's for journalists from all over the world. So we literally every week had journalists changing from all over the world. So we did it in tandem, like I went for 15 days, another colleague of mine went for 15 days, so in tandem we went and ran the rally for a couple of days at a time. So I did not do all 75 days of that.
Okay.
But it was a great thing, and I actually organized that route and the planning of that whole event.
What are the upcoming projects for Autocar?
Autocar always has something up their sleeve. We always do something crazy. So lots of upcoming projects, but you'll have to watch the channel for that.
Okay. You have also been a part of a lot of jury. When I was doing my research. So tell us about what exactly was your role when we say World Car of the Year.
So I'm a juror on World Car of the Year. I'm a juror on Women's World Car of the Year. Basically, what that means is evaluating a car when you're on the World Car of the Year, you evaluate it in its global context. You're seeing whether this car is worthy of being chosen as the best car in the world for that year. Of course, there are different categories as well, which we vote on. Most of us vote on only cars that we've driven. We don't do it out of perspective or stories that we've read. They have a jury drive in LA every year. I try and make it there so that I can drive all the cars that we don't have access to. Say for all the American cars, brands like Genesis. Last year I got to drive the Lucid Air, something that I was looking forward to driving. So driving cars that you've never really driven is a great part of that jury. But yeah, it's like any other award that you have, is just putting into context the subject, which in our case is a car, and the category in which it is, and then comparing it to what else is around in its category or around it or like it, and seeing whether that car particularly, for me, stands head and shoulders above the rest. That's the way I would look at it. It has to stand out to me as, okay, this really wowed me and this is head and shoulders above the rest for X, Y or Z reason.
But is it organized in India by Autocar or
No. So World Car of the Year is got jurors from all across the world. We've got Indian jurors too. There are a lot of Indian jurors on the World Car of the Year, but there are jury members from all across the world. It's the same as Women's World Car. World Car of the Year has 70 odd jurors from across the world. Women's World Car has 50 odd female motoring journalists from across the world. So it's all motoring journalists. Or people in the field of covering motoring that are jurors on this, and they kind of picked. And for World Car of the Year, it's not like once you're a member. Like every year they evaluate who you are, how many cars you cover and drive, and you get reselected to be on World Car of the Year.
Okay. I was watching a few reels and I saw you driving a Formula 1 race car.
That was a Formula E race car. I was lucky enough to drive the Mahindra Formula E race car. Okay. I drove Gen 1 and I drove Gen 2. It was an amazing experience because you see how much of evolution there is even in a race car. How different Gen 1 was, how different Gen 2 was, and how far they progressed in the development of the car between the first generation and the second generation of the car. So it was a fantastic experience. Nothing prepares you for the kind of torque that you get from an electric car, and especially a Formula car when everything's open around you. Lots of interesting things, like when you watch that halo that they have on the Formula cars, which protects them. I used to always wonder, how the hell do they see, and how is that vision, that in the middle of yours, how do these guys manage to see? And it's amazing as to how beautifully that thing is designed, because once you're in the car, you don't see it.
Okay.
It's so centered to your vision, and you all often wonder, but you're moving and all that, but somehow that halo never ever bothers you. You see the track as you would see the track otherwise.
But have you driven the normal Formula 1 race car ever?
No, I've never driven a Formula 1 car.
So
this is the closest I've got to a Formula car, is the Formula E car. Never been in a Formula 1 car.
But do you think that we can, as in Indians, we can pick up the pace and create
Formula 1 drivers?
Yeah.
We need a culture for that. If you see any Formula 1 driver that's there in the circuit today, they've been doing it since they're 4, 5, 6. Their parents have been taking them to tracks. A lot of them have not done serious schooling. They've been more at a track than in school.
Okay.
You tell me which Indian parent is ready to take their son to a racetrack and say, "Bhaiya, bacha school mat kar." So it's different. You need that mentality. Whether it's the world of tennis, whether it is the world of motorsport, these kids grow up training. That is their life. They live it, they breathe it. And I think that is the only way we can develop that kind of talent, because you need that amount of input, practice, exposure to different levels of the sport for you to be able to then be at the pinnacle of Formula One. We've had Naren Karthikeyan, I think, who was one of our best, that did Formula One. Karun Chandok was also there for a while, but it's hard to compete with people who've had, you know, this as a part of their life always.
Also, while I was doing my research, I saw that you had put in a reel that covers your bucket list. So tell us about what all do you have in that bucket list, and what all have you done already, and what is still to come?
I just did that reel because I was kind of sorting out pictures, because I realized it's been 20 years since I was doing automotive journalism, and I said, wow, that's a long time. And I was like, but this opportunity has given me so many fantastic experiences. So I was going through my pictures and I realized bungee jumping is something I said I will never do. And we were on a drive in South Africa. We were doing a drive for South Africa tourism, and I remember telling the cameraman, "Dekh bhai, if there's bungee jumping, main nahi ja rahi. I'm not jumping off the edge. If there's one thing I'm very scared of, it's standing on the edge of a very. I lived on the 13th floor. I don't have fear of heights. But if you ask me to stand where there is no railing and there's an edge, that freaks me out. So I said, I'm standing where you have to jump off a height, no chance, no. And then jump off, not happening. And we were in South Africa, and there were these 350 steps we climbed to get all the way up there. And once we were up there, I said, "To bhai, I can't climb down. मैं जा रही हूँ, यहीं से जा रही हूँ. I'll jump down now because I'm not climbing down those steps." So that's how it really happened. Cameraman was like, "कर लो, ma'am. Camera के लिए तो करना ही है." So that's how that bungee jump happened. And if you'd asked me to do it as an experience alone in my life, I probably wouldn't have. But yeah, that was a bucket list thing that I did.
When was that? What year?
That was about 5 years old.
Okay.
4, because I remember, I remember my post being 50 and still something, because I did it, so 5 years ago.
About 2019.
Yeah, 5 years ago is when I did that. So that was bungee jumping. If you see my WhatsApp handle, there's me standing in the engine of a plane. And whenever I've flown planes, I've always wondered, how would it be to stand in that damn thing, and how small would I be compared to how big it is. And we were doing a Range Rover drive once, and the Range Rover drives are always fantastic. They do some crazy things on their drives. In this particular drive, we actually drove through the plane. So we drove the car up. There was an obstacle course in an entire 747. We drove through it, 737 or 747, whatever. I'm not a plane expert, but we drove through it, came out of the nose of the plane. And when I came out of the nose of the plane, I said, wow. Now that's some serious bucket list tick, although I've never had something like this on my bucket list. I mean, who in their right mind would think you'll drive through a plane?
The plane was open from both sides, is it?
So they'd actually, they cut out the doors of the plane. That program is also up on my YouTube channel years ago. But they cut out the doors of the plane, and I remember as journalists also us looking and saying, oh, so we're going to drive on an airfield. And then suddenly we saw the plane, then suddenly we saw the doors cut out, suddenly we saw cars driving up, and we said, holy crap, that really, really looks weird. So we actually drove up a ramp in through the back of the plane. Inside the plane, they'd actually set up an obstacle course to show you what all the Range Rover can do and how agile and nimble it is, because it can do all of this inside a plane. And then we drove down through the nose, and that was a great exercise for hill descent, because you just pretty much came out like this without being able to see below what was there.
Okay.
And when I came out, it was an exciting experience. And then we came out, and I was talking to the Range Rover guy, and I was just saying, I don't know who was smoking what when they got this idea, and how much his boss was smoking up to say, okay, you can do this, I said, but since everybody's been smoking something around here, you think I can go stand in the engine of the plane? And he says, yeah, why not? If you have the car in the picture, then I'll get that done for you. So I said, sure. So that's how that picture happened.
Okay.
So we put the car there, we got a ladder, we climbed up into the engine of the plane and took the picture. So that kind of happened. I've always wanted to break a record. We've done some records at Autocar, but never like a personal record, which I did very recently with Pininfarina Battista. Yeah, the 357. 357.1 is what we got. Yeah, so that was a high.
Where was this?
This was at Natrax. Yeah, this was at Natrax, which is a test facility in Indore.
Okay.
Amazing facility. I mean, every time I get a chance to speak about it, I can't stop praising it enough, because it's a government-owned facility which is for testing cars and trucks and commercial vehicles and all kinds of vehicles in India. But I think they've built a fantastic facility.
I've never seen such race tracks or those areas. How big is that stretch wherein you can take the car to 357?
Where we did the oval is about 11 kilometers long.
The whole oval.
But it has 2 sections of banking and of course 2 straights in between it. What we did, and because it's a battery electric car, we had to be careful to not run the whole battery out. So as we got out, we and then of course we wanted to film it. So we had only one section of straight where the cameras could be and stuff like that. So we had to make sure that we got, by the time I was at the beginning of one banking is pretty much where we started accelerating. I was doing 290 out of the banking, and I was pretty much 350 something halfway down the straight where all the cameras were, because that's where we wanted to have it all filmed. So that was how we did it. So it was half a track, I would say, is what we used to but I think it's because we did it gradually to get the shot. That car is phenomenally quick. I mean, it gets to 350 like that.
Which car was that?
The Pininfarina Battista. It's a Mahindra-owned company now, Pininfarina, that has built this electric car. It's a hypercar that's pretty amazing.
But while we're talking about electric cars now, do you think the future is electric cars, or is just an interim solution till the time hydrogen doesn't come in?
Look, everybody was very gung-ho on electric, but I think it has a lot of challenges that people know about, probably didn't foresee that if everybody goes electric, where's the grids, where's the electricity supply, where's all the lithium coming for the batteries, which is already a shortage. How are these batteries going to be disposed? Is it that clean if we don't have a battery disposal system? What is the source of energy in each country? Is that source clean enough to say this is now a green solution? So there's lots of challenges, and I think a lot of countries have rolled back a lot of their, by 2035 we'll be completely electric. Most countries are now saying, okay, we'll accept hybrid, it's not going to be completely electric, because there are big challenges to this as well. I don't think it won't be electric, it'll just take its time, and I think the future is going to be there. We'll see a lot more EVs. You'll see most companies have said we're going to be completely electric vehicles by then. But yes, hydrogen is also an alternative technology. It's just that it's so expensive. The development on it hasn't gotten to a stage where it's viable to put into cars that people can afford for every day. How do you get the cars, the fuel cells for hydrogen as well, which is an expensive thing. So where's the source? How is it all going to come together?
Do we have that technology already or no?
Of course, there's hydrogen fuel cell technology. A lot of people have been, and they've been working on it for years. It's nothing new. But EV developed much faster than hydrogen fuel cell did to becoming commercially viable. I think Tesla was someone who really, broke that myth for people that EVs can be put out there and people can drive them. They can be cars, and people, public will accept them. So yeah, I think the trajectory of EV gathered more wind than the trajectory of hydrogen fuel cell, but it is also an alternative, and I think there are many other alternative technologies which we will probably see coming in the future. There are biofuels. There's so many things that are already happening. I think a lot of these will run parallelly alongside, but I think the internal combustion engine, at least for us in India, is here to stay for a while. I don't think it's going to fade out that quickly.
Right. So I have some of my friends and families who are using electric cars, and I think for them the biggest challenge is to charge. If they do not have anything available within the society or the house where they live, they have to find a place, like fueling stations, so they go there and they sit there for hours to get their car
So that's
charged.
the whole challenge, right? Yeah, even if you're doing a long journey, like if you need a fuel up, you fuel up. By the time you like gone in and got your McDonald's, the fuel is done, right?
Yeah.
But here it's the challenge of waiting for a couple of hours, even if it's just a top up that you want. So there's challenges to EV technology, and I think, look, when phones came, you remember how big and bulky they were.
Correct,
And
yeah.
look where they are today, and look what they're doing today. They've replaced your camera.
Yeah.
So I'm sure that car technology will also develop and will constantly improve and change, and in time we will see things. You probably have a changeable battery for your car as well.
Yeah, maybe.
You
Or
do it. They
something
already
like
got it for two-wheelers.
Carry a portable charger to charge your car.
Exactly. You already have it for two-wheelers,
Yeah.
which has picked up a lot of storm.
Okay.
But I think technology is still expensive, and that is one of the big challenges. So until that kind of irons itself out, and where is the source of the raw materials, and how can they make the raw materials cheaper? That's one of the big issues.
I think disposing of batteries is also an
A big
environmental
challenge.
challenge.
It's an
yeah.
environmental challenge for sure.
So, how do you see what has evolved, in automotive industry from where we are right now to a decade ago?
Oh, so much has changed. For one, everything is a touchscreen, which I hate. I mean, why can't you just give me a button to flip open a roof or close a roof? Why do I have to have a fidgety slider that I have to hold on to?
You're talking about only luxury cars.
Yeah, but even in your regular cars now, things are changing to
Yeah,
see
it is.
touchscreens are
Actually,
coming lower and
comes
lower.
only in the top end, and everything is
Yeah, but
touch control.
But even if you're talking about your base model cars, you see so many of them have now got touchscreens for a lot of things. I mean, but give me for my aircon control. Okay, chalo, that's basic.
Yeah.
Now most cars will have air conditioning. Just give me a knob, so that when I'm driving, I know, okay, its fan is lower, fan is higher. I just prefer that tactile feel. I don't like this. Then you have to look and see, okay, am I moving it lower? Is the fan? Where's the blower button? Which menu do I need to go through?
Yeah.
Those kind of things I'm not a fan of. But yeah, that's where technology is going. We're talking to our cars. Cars are talking back to us. Cars are driving themselves.
Yeah.
ADAS is... safety in cars is
Correct.
becoming more and more important. The amount of features that we're getting in our cars, I mean, how many of us have wireless chargers at home, but we have wireless chargers in our car. Right?
So ADAS is something, I think, which is only available in high-end cars?
Not
or-
really. Really.
Okay.
I mean, you look at today, the new Kia Seltos that I went to has got ADAS.
Yeah, okay.
Now that's come down
But
to
does
like
it come in the base model as well? Or
So you'll get it in the top end, but that's like a 20 lakh car still.
Yeah.
The MG Hector has it in a 20 lakh rupee car, so it's coming lower and lower and lower and lower down the.
like airbags?
Yes, and I'm sure that maybe not the whole suite of ADAS that these cars have, but some of the ADAS features will come even now
base
into
What other things that you see has evolved with time?
I think consumer has also evolved, which is nice. Consumers are now demanding more safety in their cars. They're demanding, everything up-to-date features, whether it's performance. They want everything that's now and current. So I think biggest evolution has been in artificial intelligence in cars. With cars being able to the artificial intelligence being used to make the cars safer, the artificial intelligence being used to communicate with the
Consumers.
with the drivers of the cars, or even cars communicating with one another to provide information on maybe traffic up ahead or whatever it is. So I think that has been one big step forward.
No, I think, and I agree to that, but something in terms of safety. Now we understand that there are airbags and there are some other facilities like ADAS, which is there and works as a safety feature. But at the same time, the iron or the steel that we put compared to where we were. I started driving. My first car was an Ambassador. So now you can understand, and now I'm driving a Honda. So the steel is so thin that one day somebody opened their door. The car was just standing next to me, and he banged just his door on my car, and there was a big dent. So do you feel that sort of it lacks that security wherein the steel is so thin?
I don't think so. I think there's a lot of things that go into. Sometimes, you see these cars where the whole front end is smashed in and people get really shocked. But the car is built like that for the front end to take the impact and take the entire crumple so that everything doesn't come into the passenger compartment. So there's a lot of, I think, misinformation. Yes, there are some cars that are not as safe as others, but there's also a lot of misinformation about cars and accidents, which I think people need to do. You can have the safest car in the universe. If you're not wearing your seatbelt, it ain't going to save you.
Yeah.
We've seen that happen recently, right?
Yeah.
In a very high profile case.
Yeah.
So when people talk to me about isko 5-star rating, NCAP hai and all, I get really, really upset, because who wears their seatbelt in the backseat of a car in India? I do. But my point is, and anybody sitting in my car has to.
Yeah.
But my point is, people don't realize, and they say, what, so what, we're 30 in the city. But you don't realize, even at 30 in the city, something can happen to you.
Right.
So when we're preaching about safety, we need to begin with our own morals and everything being in the right place.
Right.
There's no point in buying a car and saying, oh, I can't buy this car and I'll buy that car. If you don't wear seatbelt, neither this nor that is going to protect you in the case of a bad accident. So my point is, I think first begin with the basics. A lot of people, sometimes you'll read airbags did not deploy, and people are trashing the car, but they don't realize, if you're not wearing your seatbelt, the airbag will not deploy in certain cars. Simply because if the airbag deploys without you wearing the seatbelt, the airbag might kill you. Because there is a certain G-force with which the airbag comes out. Your head is going into it, and it creates a tennis, what they call a tennis ball effect, where you can snap your neck if you're not wearing your seatbelt, if you're not properly restrained. So people have to realize that there is a way to look at safety. Yes, of course, cars must have, safe body shell structures. Cars must have airbags. But it also begins with what we do and how we treat those cars, how we use them, how we drive. We really need to improve our driving ethics. And I think, that kind of safety, prevention of an accident,
Right.
is bigger to me than what will save you in the accident.
Right.